I'm Sonia Clark from First Pathway Partners. Thank you, Osohan, for being with us today, as well as Hera from Profin. And we have a very special guest, Noah. Noah, if I can ask you to kick off for us, please, and then I'll take over. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonia. I thank you for this opportunity. I can see Osahon, but it's Osahon Edimudia. You're missing in Liberia, but anyway, that's another thing. Well, my distinguished participants, my name is Noah Dalaj. I'm the founder and the president of the African Children Talent Discovery Foundation. It's a recognized organization globally where we put this initiative to discover talent and make them useful to themselves. Recently, we have been involved in doing some kind of program in sports where we incorporate young people who are playing football, who have interest in playing football, then others who have aspiration to become basketball professionals. By the grace of God, most of them today, they have this opportunity to go to school in America, different school. They have school. So I'm excited about this webinar because we're having some challenges where most of them have to defer their admission because of visas. And thank God for this kind of opportunity that is coming your way, where you can have such opportunity to have a dual citizen legally, not the one you have to go through the water and do something that can get you end up being in prison. And also you can have some opportunity of investment and other things. So I would like to thank the organizers who has put this together for trying to see how they can help the African young people and men, business people. I've also encouraged my friends from the entertainment industry to make sure that they participate in this, because this is the only way that I believe it can give you more recognition legally, and also give you the opportunity to become to have a dualization where you can travel all over the world for business, for school, for tourism, for entertainment, and I believe that it's something that will bring more door, open more door for everybody, particularly in Nigeria and other African countries. This is something that this is not just for particular people, but it's for everyone who is interested. So I would like to encourage all the participants to take the opportunity and advantage of this initiative, and also to thank those people who has organized this, to be a part of this, so that you can earn yourself a more global citizen and to make business easy for you. We understand that the global citizen is not easy, and that is why we as the ACTDF collaborate with the first pathway, Rogama legal practitioners, in organizing this webinar to educate you, so you can have, so you can know how to, so we can harness more talent and then be useful to themselves. So therefore, I thank you for this opportunity for me to address this participant this year. I believe more people are joining and more people want to join, because when we got it in the platform, a lot of people keep asking questions. How do we go for this? And that excites me, because I know that a platform now has come to make things easy for people, particularly Africans or Nigerians who are having visa, for our own sportsmen and women that are joining, getting scholarship in abroad and having problems with visa. Thank God for such initiative. I think when you have a dual citizen, you don't need the visa again. You have your admission, you are on your way. So take the opportunity, take advantage of this initiative, and make sure it becomes useful for you, and that will help you in your future endeavor. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Engineer Noah, thank you very much. Sonia, after you. Well, just before Sonia comes on, Engineer Noah says I'm missing in Liberia. I hear you're having a wonderful time in Liberia. Please give my warm regards to Her Excellency the Vice President. We see all the videos Great job. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Noah. I know you're on a very important diplomatic trip, and we are very honored to actually host you and have you as a panelist and a guest today. And also thank you very much for allowing us as First Pathway Partners, United States-based immigration by investment, as well as a green card company, to be able to assist anybody that's also not just through your organization. There's super talented youth, all over Africa, and all they're looking for is an actual opportunity. And I actually encourage everybody, to look up Noah and his organization. When we mail out the recording, we'll actually put a link to a video and a website. They're doing really important work and really, really highly and well respected and recognized. Is it through the United Nations? Am I correct, Noah?
Yes, you are very correct. We are on grade C of the ECOSOC of the United Nations.
Yeah, fantastic. All right. So, and I'm very grateful to Osohan Edemadia, based in Lagos. Thank you very much for actually putting a forum together so that we can actually address the youth, and we can actually address parents as well, because, a lot of parents want to give their children the best possible education, number one. I think that's the number one priority in South Africa. And just, if you look at the issues in South Africa, it's a springboard into Africa, which means we all have the same challenges and issues. So, we can assist in terms of helping families, whether it's the whole family or any individual in the family, to get their green cards. What we do is we have a program called the EB5 Regional Center Program, which is immigration by investment, and you invest funds into a UScis approved project, and through that way you are assured that you will actually get your green card and citizenship at the end of the day. So EB5, it was 900,000. We are anticipating the latest, I think about the 3rd of December, we should hear about the reauthorized amount. So currently we're looking at $500,000, which is really exciting because it actually opens the door to more people, where they didn't have the opportunity. So there is a small window. We encourage everybody to get your paperwork in, because as the program gets reauthorized, you're in the queue. So it is quite a long process. We're just going to touch on it briefly. So, and Gerard is going to, from Profit, is going to actually address, every visa category, that the youth or families are subject to. And he's going to touch on how to actually get your wealth out of your country and hedge it against, against the dollar, just to assure you that you don't lose your currency. But I'm not going to give any of that away. So, yes, you apply for your EB5 Immigration by Investment Visa. What then happens is, you have to go through a process. It's about 6 to 8 weeks to prepare. We introduce you to an immigration attorney. The immigration attorney will help you compile your paperwork. It takes about 2 years, 18 months to 2 years for you to actually be able to enter the United States. So, in the meantime, there are other visa categories that the immigration attorneys can actually assist you with, because, there's many ways. There's actually many ways. Everybody has got different requirements. But certainly at the end of the day, if you're looking for an American passport, EB5 is the way to go. You also get your full funds returned in 5 years. So it's very important to do your due diligence. It's very important to see, the track record of the regional center that you invest your funds with, because if, by any chance, you invest your funds with someone that you don't know, doesn't have a track record, you actually do have a chance of losing your funds. So, hence the importance of doing your due diligence. We have a 100% success rate in terms of green card issuance, and we've also got a 100% success rate in terms of funds returned. And I think the most important factor, and I think what sets us apart from any other regional center that I'd like to stress, is our CEO and our founder, Mr. Bob Kraft. Yes, we are in the 1% of the regional centers. He's well respected by our peers, and in the EB5 and Regional Center Program community. Mr. Kraft has been re-elected uncontested 5 years in a row as president of IIUSA. So IIUSA is actually the lobbying body, and it's a global organization that, fights for the reauthorization and the reform for EB5, and for the investors. So, yes, there's a lot more to tell about EB5, but we also have a non-immigrant visa called the E2 visa. It's also an investment visa that is for any family, husband, wife, children under the age of 21. It also applies for EB5, children under the age of 21. So what you would do is you would get a second passport. And this is exactly the purpose of today's discussion, on our forum, because, a lot of people say, well, I can't really wait for 2 years. I do need a travel document. I travel a lot. I go to various places. So we have identified and we have partnered with Range Developments. It's a developer based in Grenada. And what you do is you then can actually buy citizenship to Grenada, and your citizenship with the investment for husband, wife, and children under 17 and younger qualify for second passports. So basically what happens is within about a 4-month period, you could have a second passport to Grenada. This is for life. You're a citizen. It's a non-global tax reporting country. So, it's got certain benefits, from a tax point of view. It's economically sound. It is, it's a very small spice island, operates of British law. And I think the most important thing is your Grenada passport can actually give you visa-free travel to over 140 countries. Now, more and more countries are actually added to the visa-free list as a Grenadian passport holder. And some of those countries include the UK, the Schengen zone. It also includes Russia, China, India, parts of South America, parts of Africa, and so the list goes on. Right, so let's say your intention is to have a second passport, to become a global citizen so that you've got mobility. You don't have to stand, spending loads of money getting visas to every region or jurisdiction that you want to travel to, especially as a sporting person. You need to be able to get on a plane and you need to be able to attend these events. There's a lot of training that goes in the background and a lot of really capable people that just need the opportunity, to live an American dream, for instance. So now E2, as I said, is a non-immigrant visa. So what do you need to do to qualify for E2? As I said, you need a passport to a United States treaty country, of which Grenada is. Right, now you've got your second passport. From there, you're allowed to then apply for your E2 visa. It's also an investment visa, and all visas by investment for the United States is all about job creation. So it's to stimulate the U.S. economy, you creating jobs, and you also become part of the U.S. Community. Discussions go back in terms of educating your children in the U.S. The figures and the numbers have been calculated. You're looking around about $1 million to do a 4-year degree in the U.S. So if you look at an EB5 visa, just to backtrack a bit, a whole family is eligible for green cards and citizenship for $500,000. So going back to the E2 being non-immigrant, if your intention is not to get a second passport, that's fine, because we have a lot of business people that they go through EB5, they don't take the citizenship, but they have their green card. Or you can have your E2 visa, multiple entries, come and go as you please, but your business, your E2 business, or that you invest into, has to be operational. So there's a lot of very exciting avenues that one can take in terms of entering the United States. Each and every individual has got different requirements. So yes, I would suggest that you set up a consultation that we could actually see which visa category you qualify for, and we can tell you a lot more in terms of what's happening in the Senate There's been a lot of changes. There's a lot on the agenda. COVID is one of them. There's been some backlogs in terms of UScis processing. All of that is going to be addressed, and we anticipate that those backlogs next year. So a plan is busy being put in place by the Biden administration. So by next year, all these categories will not have those huge waiting periods and backlogs. So yes, I think in terms of just putting everything in a nutshell, I'm happy, like I said, to discuss EB5 at any time. I see there's a question. Osan, can you see it on the chat tab? You want to read it out to us?
Let me check it out. Just a minute.
Okay, should I read it?
Dear all,
yeah, from Roland. Thank you very much. Please, what is the step-by-step process involved? Is this guaranteed with the funds invested to get the EB5? Right, so I've got to stress, so by US law, your funds have to be invested at risk, okay? It's all about job creation. That's why I said it's important that you get someone that's got 100% success rate. I mean, if First Pathway Partners has generated over $1 billion worth of investment over the past decade, and every single investor has gotten their, their green cards and citizenship at the end of the day. So we would have to evaluate everybody. The most important thing is to get your EB5 is your source of funds. The UScis, they, as you know, it's a very strict criteria. They just want to know that it's no laundered money, trafficked money. It's completely legal, and they want to trace those funds back to source. So there's various methods. You can mortgage your properties. You can take a business loan, which makes a lot easier in terms of source of funds. First step would be to identify a project that you would like to invest in. We have partnered with the Hilton Group, the Hilton Hotel Group. So our project, we are working on 2 more projects that will be launching in the future. But the current project we have is Tempo by Hilton. It is based in Milwaukee. So yes, it's right by the Bucks Stadium, which is the NBA. The Milwaukee Bucks actually won the season, which we're very proud of. So the hotel is in walking distance. And just by filling that stadium, there is a demand for accommodation and hotels in the area. We've also got the convention center, which is being extended. So it's the extension program. So everybody coming for conventions, they will need a hotel, and the Hilton Group is a well-known group. And yes, of course, you're going to get the luxury accommodation that you deserve. So you then invest your money. Yeah.
Let me cut in very quickly. If you can make some clarifications for the benefit of those listening. At this point, how much is the EB5 investment? How much dollars is needed to make the investment? I know during the last administration, it went to $900,000. What's the current position now?
The current position, there was a court case, Bering versus Wolf, which happened earlier in the year, where UScis was taken to court, and UScis lost the case, because basically what it was about is the process in which EB5 was increased to 900 was proven to be unlawful, which means they went straight back to the old ruling of 500,000. Now, because we're waiting for the reauthorization of the program, we are actually encouraging investors to get their paperwork in place in the event that, the administration decides they're going to keep it at 500,000. So we don't know for how long. And also, we anticipate if it is going to be going up, no one really knows at this stage, but we anticipate possibly to $700,000, but we're hoping that they will keep it at 500 for the remainder of this year at least, if not long term.
So say, in other words, the $500,000 is only a little window. The opportunity to invest at $500,000 is only for now. The likelihood that it might go up very soon is there.
Okay, so currently where it stands, there was a small window initially, and those investors that actually got their funds in at 500 are first in line. So what we are saying to investors is that currently where the legislation stands, it is at 500,000. It just depends on what the Senate is going to rule on EB5 going forward. So we are waiting for them to attach the EB5 Regional Center program to a bill in the Senate. So yes, we anticipate that it will not be longer than the 3rd of December. And as Mr. Kraft works directly as well, and the IIUSA team directly with the Senators IIUSA, we will release whatever information we have at hand the minute we know. So yes, right now it's 500,000, Osan. I hope that explains it.
Yes. Now there are two questions. One by Fabiano and another by Roland in Massabo. I think you need to speak a little bit more on Roland's question. Roland wanted to know step by step. I think perhaps you want to explain to Roland that if his investment is made to first pathway and it qualifies, then his attorneys, which will be attorneys of his choice in the United States, will file the I-526. So can you just explain that very quickly so Roland just understands that, first of all, he makes an investment, and once that investment qualifies, as it were, then he then has a pathway to the green card and then the U.S. citizenship.
Yes, that's correct. So step number one would be to speak to your immigration attorney, which we are happy to introduce you to. We work with a few immigration attorneys, but Osan and I Osan has a good relationship and a long-standing relationship with an attorney that we can obviously showcase on another day. But it is important to speak to your attorney and understand exactly what documentation you will need. Like, for instance, you will need, in our country, a tax clearance certificate. You would need a reserve bank clearance certificate. There are limitations in how much money you can take out per year. Osan can maybe explain how that works in Nigeria. In South Africa, you are allowed to take out 1 million rand. And if it's more than that, up to 10 million rand, you have to ask for reserve bank clearance. You have to apply for that. So you really need a good Forex partner. Banks can generally help you. We can also introduce you to people that help you every step of the way. Professionals, experts in their field, but we are there and we hold your hand. So step number one, speak to your immigration attorney. Nice engaging with us as a regional center. So the attorney will also give you a complete list of what else you will need. Then their team starts working on it once you've appointed them as your attorney. Team starts processing. You're involved in the entire process. They will also need the regional centers documentation, which is our documentation, which is your subscription agreement. It is your escrow agreement. So your funds for your 500,000, you need to open an escrow account, and yes, those funds need to be in place before you're filing, and our documentation is the regional center. The project itself has also got to be in place before the attorney can also file your petition. Now, once you get approval, Osan mentioned a note called I-526. Once you get your I-526 2 years later, more or less, that is when you're allowed to enter the United States.
So let me just quickly add, because you asked what was the Nigerian position. We've been able to successfully assist 4 families immigrate on the EB5 platform from Nigeria. They settled in the United States, and they were able to transfer their funds directly from their banks in Nigeria to the United States. Of course, everyone is taken on a case-by-case basis, and once they are interested in making an investment, we will then assist and guide them as to how best working again, just like you pointed out, with immigration attorneys in the United States. I think as we progress in this webinar, Gerald will come to speak on how Profin can actually assist in easing the flow of cash or transfers or even aggregating cash with regards to the EB5. Now, Sonia, I see Fabiano Matos is asking, what about this EB5 suspension? Are you sure it will reauthorize in December? So maybe you want to start by explaining to Fabio how long the EB5 program has been on and how often it needs to be reauthorized. If I remember, as the last count, is reauthorized every 6 months. And I think you also should explain what the IIUSA is. IIUSA is Invest in USA, because I noticed you use the acronyms.
Yeah.
So please carry on.
Okay, so the Regional Center program started in 1990, and we were one of the very first regional centers going far back, and we were also the first to get our I-829 approvals, which is that last step when you get your permanent residency and funds returned. So will it be reauthorized? Yes, because the regional center program has lapsed many times in the past. So, it's not the first time. We are not concerned. What we're more concerned about is actually getting there now, because, it's the Senate has had a lot of debate, and they've also had a lot of time to actually have a look at the bill that's been proposed by Senator Grassley and Senator Leahy. So I encourage you to go onto the IIUSA site, and you can actually see how many billions of US dollars is actually at stake if the EB5 Regional Center program is not reauthorized. So what we can tell you, and what you would probably know through the media, is that the Biden administration is pro-immigration. So yes, it's just a matter of when it'll happen and not if. So we've passed the if stage. That bill has been circulated in the Senate since the 30th of June this year. And it looks like they've reached a consensus and agreement in the Senate. So looking at, again, the Biden administration reauthorizing, immigration, being pro-immigration, we are also myself especially, I'm thinking that, to keep it at 500,000 this year makes more sense at the end of the day. So to answer your question, yes, it has lapsed many times, and we're looking at a long-term reauthorization this time. So, that we don't have this issue going forward. It just creates delays, unfortunate delays, because USCIS unfortunately can't process. So really what it means is, once it's reauthorized and you've got your paperwork in with your US attorney, once the Senate gives the go-ahead, your documentation and your EB5 will then be processed. Right now, the only thing that's different is there's no processing. So yes, it's not very long. We're already at the end of October. We've got literally one more month. Then we will know what the amount is. I hope that answers the question.
I think that she'll satisfy Fabiano. Let me just sort of ask, put it in perspective. We were talking about global citizenship and recognition. And Engineer Noah did hit the nail on the head. The future from a global perspective for global citizens, your ability to operate from different countries almost simultaneously, particularly for the young people who are looking to grow capital, grow their business, grow their brand and their recognition, whether it's football, whether it's entertainment, your ability to be able to go to so many countries without visa restrictions becomes key. But one of the questions that people would normally have in situations like this is, how do we aggregate wealth? How do I grow? How do I put the money together? Now, you've talked about $500,000 with regards to the EB5. What is the base sum with regards to the E2? That's number one. And number two, how do they leverage if they don't have all of their money in cash? I know you have Gerald, and Gerald is going to come in shortly to talk about what investment opportunities are, how you can grow your money in perhaps US dollars and foreign currencies across the globe, and then be able to key in into the investment. But are there opportunities to leverage? I just want you to speak on that before Gerald comes in, because there are quite a lot of Nigerians, as it were, who have money, who have assets, but the liquidity is a bit of a challenge. Do I have to sell everything I have? Some have investments abroad, some have properties, as it were. Can they leverage on it? So what are your thoughts on that, Sonia?
Okay, well, speaking from experience with investors that we're dealing with actually currently right now, you can, and I mentioned this earlier, you can actually take a mortgage on your personal property or your business assets, your business properties. The other thing is you can take a business loan. There has been situations where if you have, let's say, for instance, shares or stocks or investments abroad, that you can actually loan against those. I'm not the financial person, but that's what Harold's going to be talking about. So I'm just, introducing that bit because you asked me. And then I think in terms of getting your funds out of, very volatile currency, Grenada is a very good way of doing this because it's a very quick process. It's not as intensive as the EB5 process, but at least you can get your funds, into Grenada. So that 300,000 I mentioned earlier, 220,000 of that goes into a development, and it's a government-approved development. It's called the Sixth Census Development. Then being in the Caribbean, the Sixth Census is in the region of, and is based in Las Vegas. So even taking COVID into consideration, all distancing can be observed even in a state like that. So, basically your second passport and investment to Grenada, got your funds offshore, now that your funds actually, is invested in US dollars. You don't have to worry about your currency. We've got local elections coming up on Monday, and, depending if it's going to be peaceful and uneventful, our rand should be all right. But if something would happen, our rand could jump in such a manner that I'd say 90% of our investors that are waiting at the moment will not be able to even afford it. But to give yourself that opportunity, get your funds offshore. Harold will tell you how. And I just want to see, I think there's more questions here.
Yeah, let me just, Roland asked some more questions. One, I think you just answered with regards to whether you could leverage on properties and stocks. I think the answer is yes. Now, he's asked, what's the difference between an EB5 direct investment and an EB5 regional center?
Sure. Okay, so let me explain to you. If because your funds have to be at risk by law, under the EB5 regulations, you need to weigh up your risks. You need to have a look at the project. You need to see whether you are actually capable of getting involved in an EB5 project. It's not easy putting a project together. We speak from experience because the major thing is, are you going to be getting your green card at the end of the day? And what are the requirements to get a green card? You've got to actually have the jobs, and you've got to sustain those jobs. So we haven't found one project as a regional center. I mean, we could have probably gone down the road on the direct option, made maybe one or two slots available for direct investment. But what's going to happen if we can't assure our investors of at least 10 jobs created? That there's your risk. You're not going to be able to get your green card. And then obviously, you stand at risk. You've got your funds that you want returned. You want, you want your children to enter the education system. You want to possibly open up a business in the US. Now, if you have a direct investment, you would have to literally be hands-on. And I think as a non-US citizen, I think it's really risky, taking on a project like that, excuse me, without having prior experience. So if anyone out there can prove to us that they can sustain and create those 10 jobs, great. But from our point of view, it's not advisable. Not just because we're a regional center, but I mean, because we actually looked into it to see if we could make some direct slots, and it is not that simple and easy. That's it in a nutshell.
So Sonia, let's put it this way, so that there's some clarity for those who are listening and following us. Basically, it's the EB5 program is basically about job creation, and that the investment is able to sustain the job level for the period of 5 years or 7 years that the investment is made. And if at any point in time, the job level drops, as it were. The funds may not be at risk, but the opportunity of being able to get your green card renewed or the restrictions taken out.
Not renewed, to actually get a green card.
Yeah, because you get temporary cards. Yeah, thank you for that. And then finally, your pathway to a passport is actually blocked. So it's good for people to recognize that. And you did make a point at the beginning that you have 100%, first pathway has 100% success rate in being able to deliver to investors the American dream. So, Roland, that perhaps will give you a bird's eye view, for want of a better word, of the distinction between both parameters. Do you want maybe Gerald should come in and explain?
Just one second.
Okay, go on, Sonia.
Sorry, I see there's another question from Roland. Must I have the $500,000 in cash, or can I probably use other assets like properties or stock?
And other assets like properties, or can I use other assets like properties and stocks? Okay.
Okay, so you would have to, for instance, as an example, go to your bank and take a loan out against your assets and your properties, because you can't just put that up as collateral. So in terms of UScis, they want to see that you've actually committed your funds to the project before they will even approve you. So you cannot file unless you've actually got $500,000 in an escrow account in the United States. So some investors, it takes a bit longer. That's okay. Harold will actually go into detail now. I'm sorry I interrupted you, Osohan, but let's hand over to Harold at this point, because I think that flows onto the question from Roland. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Saya. Jared, you're speaking from.
I'm still here. Yes, indeed. Hi, everybody.
Enjoying the weather in Nairobi. Nairobi and Mombasa, where are you?
I'm in Mombasa at the moment, actually.
When I grow up, I'd like to be like you. All right, come on, Jared.
Yeah, right. It's just so interesting what you guys were talking about now, because also I did second residency myself, because I do travel a bit. Okay. And just the hassle to and the way you get treated to get a Schengen visa or visa to America or wherever, just to go through that pain is actually an issue. And last year, because of COVID, it has become really difficult to travel. And I found myself stuck in transit in Switzerland on a business trip, and I would have been almost like that movie of Tom Hanks.
Stuck in the airport.
Yeah, I would have been stuck in the airport. But I had my second residency of a European country. So because of that, I can travel without visas. So I just went through passport control, booked myself into a hotel, waited it out, and got going again. So
as a true global citizen.
Yeah, no, it really is amazing, and I can also just say and I think that sort of ties in with what we want to talk about, is that for the people listening that want to do this, even if you can't afford it right now, it is maybe something to seriously consider over time to get that second passport or a residence somewhere else. For us in Africa, to be able to travel without a visa, or to have the opportunities that are available in for instance, in America, it is just amazing. And I've seen people, many of our clients, of course, have done second residencies themselves. And some of them have actually been de-risking and getting rid of some of the assets in Africa and just going and setting up overseas. But also, can Jessica maybe show my slides?
Okay. Okay, Jess, please. Yeah.
Okay, Jessica, just the next one. Thank you. So I go here. So yeah, Also, Han, I think I'll just say myself, Gerard Duplessis. I've got a BCom background, just very briefly my background. BCom, really loved economics. I won a competition, the Economist of the Year, when I was 23 or 24 years old in South Africa. Junior economist. But I've always been fascinated about equities and wealth and money and these type of things, so much so that sort of at the age of 12, I started tracking shares on graph paper in those days. So I've been always fascinated about wealth and how you make your money work for you. That actually led me there. My further studies, I specialized in investment management. And in my 20s, I was a financial advisor. I started off as a financial advisor. And over the years, I've always been in the wealth management arena. I still am a financial advisor. I still give financial advice to especially high net worth individuals, but also high income earners. So our company itself, I think, because there are people from all over Africa, we in many of the English-speaking countries with our regional offices, as you can see there in Zimbabwe, Nigeria, and Kenya. So sort of course, Kenya looks after East Africa, Zimbabwe, Southern Africa, and then Nigeria, West Africa. The thing is, for us as a company, and I'm not going to talk a lot about our company. That's just not the purpose of this at all. We are independent financial advisors, so we have contracts and we can place our clients' money with approximately 40 financial institutions globally. So we are their eyes and ears on the ground in Africa. What that means is, in most instances, our clients are de-risked, because once we have done our due diligence on the clients, in effect, we will vouch for the legitimacy of the client's funds, which makes it much easier for people from Zimbabwe or Nigeria or Kenya to actually invest internationally. Yeah. So our company itself, we've been around since the 1980s. For those of you sort of down south, maybe you will know a company called Old Mutual. We acquired Old Mutual's international division in the 1980s. We are really the largest offshore financial services provider in Africa. And as I've said, we are totally independent, but we are local. So we are based on the ground. You don't have to speak to somebody in New York or London or Hong Kong. We are in Abuja, Lagos, Nairobi, Harare. Between our senior staff, I think all of us have got at least 20 years experience individually in wealth management on the international side. So why do people go internationally? I think we've seen that, the political risk. Sonia referred to it earlier. I've stayed in many countries in Africa, and each time that there's an election, many of the wealthy people leave for a quick holiday. That's a dangerous signal. If you have to, each time there's an election, leave the country, have a look at where your assets are. Maybe you should not sleep in the same country where your assets are in that instance. So be careful of, and clients want to invest internationally to just hedge against political risk, which goes hand in hand often with economic risk. Also then tax efficiency. Inflation is just a big killer across Africa, and we can see it. The types of rates that we earn on our government bonds or our euro bonds, they are so high just so that we have maybe a small real rate of return, because inflation eats up the rest. So I know we get the statistics that inflation is 4% or inflation is 3%, but the inflation that we feel in our pockets is not 2% per year or 3% per year. I'm not going to dwell on that, but inflation is a big killer. So we want to get our money in the international environment so that the money that we work for don't lose value over time, so that we can take that money and invest it in the EB5 plan, as an example. So your international solutions are very cost effective. It's very transparent. So, you know, it really has been created for your sort of high net worth individuals, of course. You know, if you're talking about $500,000 that you have put down, you're sort of touching on that level already. And at that level, you really need a very low TER, a total expense ratio on your plans. I actually also, and I'm glad that Sonia mentioned it, currency risk. I remember also, Han, in fact, I was based in Nigeria for a few years, about 4 years in Lagos. I still remember Abuja fondly, the gardens, the pointed keel, the bitter leaf soup, all of that.
The memories linger.
Yes. I don't miss the traffic in Lagos that much, I must confess. Third Mainland Bridge and all of that. But back then, the currency was about 150, 160 Naira. I remember it clearly. And these days, of course, I think we are at about 580. So,
Gerald, we remember those days fondly, even though at that time we were complaining.
Yes. And then we had a new administration that came in, and people were saying that the currency will strengthen. But at the end of the day, it's just economics at play. It's just economics. Of course, politics is you know, it's there as well, but it's the efficiency of the economy and the multiplier effect of your M2 supply that really is going to drive all of this. So currency risk is a major issue for people, which is why they want to go internationally. And then, of course, the diversification. I think that's really a big one. How do we grow our money? We know in Africa, in the majority of the countries, we can invest in Eurobonds or bonds, and those are not going to work for you. It's a nice, supposed risk-free return. It's risk-free until something happens, and things can happen. And if there's no default, what governments often will do is just to print more money, to pay. And if you have a printing of money, that goes hand in hand with inflation. And, you know, we know the formula. It's inflation, money market supply, which is interest rates, and unemployment. And yeah, those are the only three that can vary really in the formula. So
yeah,
what we want is...
Sorry to cut in. Please go on, Jerry.
Yes.
Please go on. I was going to ask a question,
Okay.
but please finish.
Yes.
You see, sorry to butt in, but I wanted to sort of tie two things I've heard you say and Sonia say earlier, and try and relate it to what I consider the challenge of the young people in Nigeria, both those in the entertainment industry, sports, and even budding entrepreneurs. Now, the biggest challenge is access to capital and ability for global travel. Because we all recognize at this point that you can't grow much as a young person who's looking at a future to prosper by being located solely in your country or in one country. But we also recognize that increasingly, ability to move funds from one jurisdiction to the other, whether by way of savings or investment, is extremely difficult. Because what you see a lot of people do, once they've made some money, they're looking for properties to buy abroad. And I'm sometimes at pains to explain to people that buying a property abroad is not an investment. It's like actually burying your money in a rabbit hole, as it were, because you then have concomitant related charges, taxes and all of that, and perhaps a property you never leave. If you're going to actually have a tenant there, it might be delinquent. So it brings a whole lot in its wake. But then again, people don't have options. So this is me, for instance, listening to you and Sonia, and I'm asking myself, I really would like to have a second passport so I can travel around visa-free. I'd have to be able to do my entertainment, go to shows, or market my talents, or perhaps even products, cross borders. And I only have $100,000 now. If I have in my local currency, it just stopped to 160 a few years ago. It's 575 as it is now. I may have nothing to do with the government of the day. COVID has its impact and all of that. So I'm asking myself, I need to put the money I have aggregated somewhere that gives me access to credit so that I can also grow my business. And I need, for instance, to be able to take advantage of what Sonia is offering me, which is also an investment, but then that's an investment that also gives me a citizenship. Now, if I were to approach you saying that I want to go with Sonia, but at this point I have $200,000 or I have $100,000, and I'm afraid that I might even have foreign exchange control prohibition issues. Sonia did mention one or two. How do I go about it? Do you have any tools? And how little do I have to start?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if you are clairvoyant or what, but very much that in fact is the next slide. So there is a structure also, Han, that people use, and as you've said, it's difficult. It used to be difficult to move assets from all over. However, a company in Sweden started a platform that you call an open architecture platform, which really is, it's a portfolio bond, but we call it an open architecture platform. So it's a tax-free warehouse. And with tax-free, I mean that in those particular jurisdictions. So for instance, if you buy shares in America, the moment when you have more than $60,000 and something happens to you, there are death duties and all sorts of things payable. There are withholding taxes. If you hold that within a tax-free warehouse, this portfolio bond, then those taxes are not applicable. So I'm not going to go into detail with that. But the portfolio bond is really a warehouse where investors can access anything that trades globally, as long as it has an ISIN number. So, an identifier from a recognized jurisdiction, if I can put it like that. So liquidity is quite important. So therefore, clients can open in your example also, Han, they can take $200,000, they open this open architecture platform. They can now access anything that trades globally. They can go and buy shares. They can go and buy Tesla, Facebook, Google, Coinbase, MicroStrategy. If they're interested in cryptos, they can go MicroStrategy or Square. They can buy any ETF, almost any mutual fund. They can buy anything that trades really, and it's housed in their own name in one jurisdiction. Okay, so in terms of confidentiality, that helps quite a bit. Now, I think what you refer to, people, sort of your artists, maybe your sports people, they also then get lump sums available every now and then. The same as business people. In Africa, what we know is that things will be different in a month's time. So you don't always have a steady flow of cash. I mean, unless you're employed somewhere very, then you'll have that. But these sort of structures allows you to then aggregate what you have already. So I think it was Roland that asked, if I have stocks somewhere, can I use that? So I could say to Roland, if those stocks are in Hong Kong or Japan or Australia or Europe or UK or Canada or somewhere, the answer is yes. You can just drag your stocks that you currently have, your bank accounts that you have internationally, your mutual funds, your ETFs, anything that's in your name, you can move into this vehicle called a portfolio bond. And you start accumulating towards your goal, which is $500,000 to do the investment into America and sort out your family, for life, really. Once you have that, I think that's just fantastic.
Jared, let me ask
to your children.
Jared, that's very helpful. But I want to ask you and then Sonia one question. These are investments. So can you, because Sonia also talked about the Milwaukee Temple by Hilton that's coming up and the advantages because of where it's situated. So what are the returns on these investments? Because ordinarily, the fact that I'm making an investment in the United States dollars, quantitative easing or otherwise, irrespective, it's a fairly safe currency, so to speak. So there's some hedge, there's some protection. But for me, as a potential investor or someone looking at it, what are the returns on investments? Can you speak to that? Can Sonia also speak to that briefly? Because we're talking investments now.
Yes. Okay. So I think it's two different subjects, two different positions, what Sonia is going to talk about and from our side. So when I'm talking investments, and a typical example also would be what you said earlier, you and me going and buying a property in Europe or in the UK, which many of your clients, of our clients do, and of the people watching now, they've got properties overseas. But there are lots of pitfalls, the time that you spend doing so. I would rather sell that property and invest that money in a real estate investment trust, the so-called REIT, of which you have fantastic ones in America. I'm not going to name all of them, but there are so many. And those professional fund managers also is going to outperform you and me in terms of that investment. Fantastic. Now, when we're talking in investment returns, if you just go and you buy an index tracker on the S&P 500, so that's the 500 largest companies in America, so that's an index, so that's really boring stuff. If you just buy an index tracker and you hold it over time, you will expect roughly a 12% annualized return. Okay. But somebody much cleverer than me said that diversification are for people that don't know what they're doing. So if you now start taking out, out of those 500, the companies that are maybe not performing that well, then of course you're going to potentially lift that
much lower
return. Yeah. And then of course we've got clients that say, I'm willing to take risk. I want to buy into sectors that are going to be the future. I want to invest in social media, in robotics, in artificial intelligence, something like Facebook that is going to, we believe, be a winner on the metaverse, maybe a Square, a Coinbase, something with crypto, something with blockchain. So the moment when you now enter those type of investments, of course, your risk is always higher. The higher the risk, the higher the expected return. And, it depends on the client's risk profile as well.
So let me interrupt you. Let me hear from Sonia.
Okay. Yeah, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Right. So if I understand the question correctly and the point you were trying to make, I was listening to Harold in terms of your risk profile. Here we have a financial advisor. Whereas we're not financial advisors. The big difference is we're a regional center. We own the project. We put a large equity of our own money into the project. It's been structured to protect the funds so that the funds can be returned at the end of the day. And I think investors shouldn't actually, we say investors, but I don't think investors should look at an EB5 or, as a type of investment that you would make to make more money or accumulate money. This is really an investment for your future, an investment to firstly get your green card, secondly to get citizenship if that's your goal. And the types of returns is, normally a regional center project will give maybe 0.5%. maybe 1% return, the way we've structured it, that after year 2, you get a 3% return on your investment. So it's an investment, but not a type of investment that, you're looking from a financial services point of view. This is purely for immigration, your green card, hedging against your own currency, getting the money out of your country, using vehicles like Profin, for instance, because the most important thing is you want to prove to USCIS that your source of funds is legitimate. And, you don't want a denial up front because, all of a sudden you flagged. So, yes, I would highly encourage people to look at their financial portfolio and speak to their financial advisors. Harold being very well positioned to assist everybody. In terms of risk on our side, yes, by law, like I said, EB5 is to be at risk. But then you've got to look and see how secure is my investment with that particular regional center. So not a lot of regional centers can actually say that they've had 100% success rate in funds returned and green cards uninterrupted for over a decade. So yes, does that answer your question?
Well, I'm listening to the two of you and saying it's the best of both worlds, basically. Gerald grows my money, gives it to you, Sonia, and then you keep my money safe, give me some returns on it, give me a green card, and then the American life. Okay.
And then your funds returned. After about a 5-year period. That's important. Then you can reinvest it with Gerard again, to further grow your capital.
All right, Gerard.
Thank you, Sonia. It really is the best of both worlds. Yeah, so you just lend the money to Sonia for 5 years, and she gives you American. No, it is a good deal, I believe.
So Gerald, I'm asking myself. So basically, if I have all that money, perhaps in assets and co, like Roland asked, and I leverage against it, it means that basically I can take out money out of it without having to liquidate my assets. Is that a possibility? So I can give some money.
Yes. Yes.
How would that work? Keep my assets without having to liquidate them. Please tell us how that will work.
Correct. So yes, we go and we've got relationships with banks on your international side. So depending on what the underlying assets are, generally what we find is that depending on the risk on your stocks, on equities. So let's say you've got 100 Amazon shares. You can borrow usually 50% of that is what any bank most banks will give you a 50% loan to value on that. For less riskier, it will now go up. If you have mutual funds, a bit more. If you have bonds, a bit more. So it ranges between 50%, which is the minimum what you will get, to about 70%. You will borrow it.
Okay, Sonia, can you help me with this? One of the challenges for the investors we've assisted emigrate to the United States. Basically, the funds will always have to come from their accounts to show that it belongs to them. Can you speak to that? Assuming, can I be gifted money? If I'm a director, where does the money come from? How does the money go, and what must be that?
Okay, so it is acceptable to USCIS to be gifted the money, but then they will obviously the person that's gifted the money, they would have to prove the source of those funds. So in terms of gifting, you could also be loaned the money, and USCIS will see the loan as cash as well. That also came out this year. Yeah.
Okay.
So whether it's a personal loan from grandma, for instance, that would also be viewed acceptable as cash. But then again, the source of those funds would have to be proven. And, that's a very simple exercise, that the immigration attorneys do. I know Osohan gives some advice and gets involved sometimes with, his clients as well, and EB5 investors, and of course, Gerard. I mean, it's so easy to structure. Just get yourself prepared, so that you are in the position to freely move your funds, whenever the time's right. Because if you want to take advantage, of possibly getting EB5 500, and you've got all these hurdles to go through, speak to Gerard. Let them have a look and see what what they can do for you.
So I have this question to the two of you. First of all, Gerard, let's say I'm an entertainer. I have a concert in Joburg and paid $50,000. Then I have a concert in Nairobi and paid another $50,000. Then the other time I have another one in Accra, I get $30,000. And I'm making some money. Now, but I'm making the money in different jurisdictions in Africa, as it were. And I'm interested in speaking to Sonia and saying, Sonia, I'm interested in one of your products. Now, Gerard, how do I aggregate, given the fact that the monies are coming from different jurisdictions? Well, they're probably coming in dollars, as it were. What kind of platform is available for such aggregation?
Yes, so also, hopefully the type of entertainer that gets $50,000 here, $70,000, they have already got their structures in place, because they should have an international entity, most probably, that captures the intellectual property, royalties, all sorts of other things. If they haven't got a proper structure in place, they should talk to their tax advisors and get a structure in place to capture the international income somewhere. To capture that income somewhere. But then it's rather simple. You open this open architecture platform, you open it in your name, and whenever you have money available, you send it to this firm. There are 6 companies that I'm aware of that can do the open architecture platform in Africa, and the Profin Group deal with all 6 of them. So and they're very well known, massive organizations that manage hundreds of billions of dollars for clients. So it's not some Mickey Mouse company somewhere. These are major institutions that have got the know-how as to how to run this open architecture platform. So it's straightforward. Passport copy, proof of where you reside, and then we need to make sure that your money is legit. And then the money flows to that particular company. Whenever you have money, I think that I don't deal in minimums, but I think the minimum is $10,000 that you can, each time you have $10,000, you can just drop it in there, speak to your financial advisor, who won't be me. It will be one of our, staff in whichever of the countries, where you reside. According to your risk profile, you'll decide what do we buy to grow this money so that we can get to our goal, which is your EB5. That's what it's all about in this scenario. How do we get there? And also what we can do is we can show you, if you say, okay, I want to be there in 3 years' time. Maybe if you don't have the money right now, which is more what I'm talking about, the people that have it right now will just do it with Sonia already. But if you don't have quite the money as yet, maybe set a goal of sort of 3 years, and we can plan and say, how will the cash flow work, and how do we get there? How much do we need to grow the money for you to be at $500,000 3 years, hoping that it will still be 500,000, but at least you'll have 500,000. Then even if they do increase it to 700,000, which is what Sonia said, possibly, then even then maybe 2 years later you still have it. Because I think the beauty of this thing for me, also Han, is that, and the residency that I took is similar. You put the money down, you get your green card. And 5 years later, well, you don't get it as yet, but you're in the line now, and 5 years later, you get your money back. Okay, there is risk, sure, but for 5 years of that money being tied up, let's say that's what it's all about. For 5 years, you won't have real growth on your money, okay? But you'll still have a bit of growth, and you now have your green card. That's really what it's all about. So
I'm going to make you laugh. So I'm going to ask a question that I'll tell you the experience of one of my clients who had immigrated. One of the first people who actually put through. So the question, don't answer it. When I finish the explanation, you answer it. Was that if the money is coming from Gerald, if I've aggregated money with Gerald, will that be okay for you? Don't answer it yet. Now, answer it after I've said this. But the first set of 4 investors we had, first 3 investors, we helped with the EB5. When they invested their money, it was at the point, Gerald, you said the exchange rate was 160 to the dollar. So $500,000 at the time was 83 million naira. We didn't look like a lot at the time, as it were. Now they're all in the process of getting back their money. Investment is mature, they're getting it back. Now the exchange rate is 575. So when they put in their money to 83 million, now that they're getting it back, part of my maths, if it's bad, is about 250 million.
Wow.
And in addition to that, the kids are abroad. They have their green card. They're fighting for the US passport at this point, as it were. And I do remember one of them sending back a message explaining how seamless the process was, and saying that, when we arrived, he came into New York. He said, we got a red carpet reception, and for the first time going through immigration, we didn't spend 2 minutes. And the man actually said, welcome to the USA. So,
wow.
So yeah, now you can answer my question. Will you take the money from Gerald if I can get my wealth?
100%. The thing is, UScis, an immigration attorney, also has to be satisfied that the source is legitimate. And what Carol just said is they actually work on all of that up front. So rest assured, we'd be happy, UScis would be happy, and yes, it would just be a continuation of our spotless track record, by not having to say to investor, well, we're really sorry, but we didn't have enough or sufficient evidence that, you satisfied UScis. So absolutely, sure, of course, we would love to have your clients.
Thank you. So Gerald, my question back to you is how little do I need to have to start with? Because we are not all high network individuals, HNIs.
Correct.
So where's the starting point?
Okay. Also, this type of structure. Now, of course, if you start too small, then you're just never going to get there. Unfortunately, but it might not help you for your EB5. But the minimum to open this sort of structure is if you want to buy any bond, any mutual fund, anything that trades globally, except equities. So you can't go and buy Tesla directly. The minimum is $25,000. The minimum, if you want to have the full spectrum, including the ability to buy ETFs, shares, then it's $50,000 is the minimum.
Fantastic. Now, Gerald, I know I posted your slide on portfolio bonds. Do you have any other thing to show us on your slides?
I think we've run out of time, really. I mean, we're already over our scheduled time. So I think maybe just the next one, and then the others I'm just going to skip because I know.
I apologize.
Actually, this, I think we've covered most of it in any event. The beauty of this, by the way, Osahan, is that this structure, families use that to pass on wealth from one generation to another. So this structure lasts for 99 years, or if you close it before. And people will hardly ever close the structure because anything that you want to possibly buy globally, you can buy through the structure as if you are an institution. You'll see that the second to last point there. You get institutional, so they don't see you and me with our small money, taking out $50,000 there as a retail investor. We won't be treated as retail investors. We get treated as institutional investors. So we get in this at a fantastic. It's all about minimizing costs. So we're getting at a great base rate when we do our investments. Also, many of your top hedge fund managers globally, or some of your fund managers, have quite high minimum amounts. One of the hedge funds we use as an example is Aurum. The Aurum ISIS fund, the minimum investment in there is £250,000 is your minimum investment. Okay. And that will only be a small percentage of your portfolio. Now, using this open architecture, I can get that top hedge fund for a client for £25,000, exactly the same one that institutions use for £250,000. So I think the others I will just not go through that, and then maybe just, this is quite a good one, maybe. Do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving. That's, I think, Shaquille O'Neal has a YouTube video on there where he actually takes a note, tears it in half, and say, whenever you get money, take half and save it. Now, I think that's wise words. If we can do that, live well within your means.
I will probably ask you to re-echo that. I think, like Engineer Noah said, we should have a lot of young people listening to this, sportsmen, entertainers. They make a lot of money, but it's very seasonal, and it's always for the moment. So for those of them listening to us, I just hope you just heard what Gerald has said. Don't literally split the money by tearing it, but two things. Put half away, a good measure, and then make sure Sonia is on your roller desk. You're going to need to be a global citizen to survive what perhaps is the emerging new order. Increasingly, we're beginning to see that your ability to move from one point to the other, like Gerard has said, it's key to your surviving, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's bad government, or just sheer misfortune. So please take that to heart. Please, Gerard, go on.
Also, I think that's it. As financial advisors, if you were to come to us for this goal, we will hold your hand to make sure that you reach your goal of the EB5. So if you have the money right now, just go and do it. Or if you're close to it, speak to your family and friends and other people, get the money and go and do it. But if you are still a bit away from there, but you are earning good money, start saving immediately so that you can get into this position where you can give this to your family 2 years, 3 years, even 5 years down the line. Make the decision. So that's my goal. Rather than going out and buying a second Hummer or start to,
with what we'll call
blue label, or rather than red label, that type of thing. Save more of your money and make sure you reach this goal. And then 5 years from now, you get that money back and you can do what you want with it back then.
Sonia,
yes.
I need you to assure me that when Gerald makes that money for me, I will be able to get this green card and then a US passport. Or worst case scenario, get me a Grenada passport so that at least I can globetrot as a way.
Absolutely. Especially you, Osahan. Especially you, with you traveling so much.
No, I just said that they missed me in Liberia. So I need to make money first. So I just need you to reassure me, Sonia. Reassure me that I can. If I have this money, is there anything I need to know? One of the questions Ujima asked, please remind Sonia, is there any other payment I need to make outside the 500? I need Sonia to explain that.
Yes. So we have actually negotiated rates with immigration attorneys. I had a question that how much it is, and I also responded in the chat with my email address and mobile number. So yes, immigration attorney fees are normally sometimes around about 28 to 35,000 US dollars. We have negotiated, and as a courtesy to us, the immigration attorneys are willing to come in between $18,000 and $20,000, which we're very happy. And you don't have to pay it all up front. So just to get your process started, you would have to pay 50% of the immigration fee, obviously sign the immigration attorney appointment form, and then your project agreements, which we call the subscription agreements, that you'd have to also then do and hand over to the attorney. And obviously your escrow account is mostly important. So, that could be the first step in the process, together with working with your immigration attorney, which will gladly assist you with. So yeah, all in all, we are looking at $85,000, give or take. And unless there is an issue and there are, for instance, litigation or anything that happens during your process, which we obviously do everything in our power to avoid, but not us, the immigration attorney. So yes, flat fee of about $18,000 to $20,000, depending which immigration attorney you'll be using, with your 50% to them, and then our fee as well, which is $63,000. So yes, and that is a processing fee to invest in our project. So I hope that answers it.
So I don't know if it's to say a very big thank you, or to extend the hug across the web to you and to Gerald. It's been a very refreshing and enlightening time I've had with the two of you. And I hope those of you watching, or will have an opportunity to watch this as a recorded webinar, you will take advantage of all that you've heard. Of course, you haven't heard much from Gerald or Sonia because of time constraints, but Sonia and Gerald are people I highly recommend. And like Engineer Noah said, with his opening remarks, they provide us an opportunity that are ordinarily not commonplace, particularly for those residents in Nigeria. How do we aggregate funds? How do we grow funds? How do we get an opportunity to travel with dignity, as it were, not get molested and not get disrespected? How do we, as business people, aspire to become global citizens? Not because we hate our country or want to leave our country, but because we understand the reality of wealth aggregation and the opportunities that open up to us when we have that opportunity to move from point A to point B. The people will meet with respect to business, opportunities for growth, and all of the others. And quite importantly, like Sonia offers, looking at, for instance, emigrating to the United States, if that becomes a serious consideration, you want to be sure you're talking to the right people. And Sonia has very proudly flaunted First Pathway as having 100% record. And I think she's very proud of that and continues to say we have 100% record. So yeah, is it my place to say thank you to everyone? It's sort of a final word. Or do I just hear a final word from everyone, then I just round up? And you not forgetting Jess, who's behind the scene, making sure that we are all live and everyone can hear us. So just a final word from everyone. This time I'll say the gentleman first, not ladies first. Gerard. Gerard, you said ladies first after the gentleman.
Yes. Gerard, no, I think from my side, thank you very much for this forum, Osohan and Sonia, and for the people watching. Make the decision as to what is it that you want to achieve. Do you really want to do this, and by when do you want to do it? Make that decision, and then make sure your money grows. Don't be fooled into believing that money does not grow internationally. Go and look at the stock markets there. Go and have a look at what shares, what the performance is. As I've said, the S&P 500 is sort of 12 to 13% annualized return, and that's if you just buy the 500 largest companies in America. So really boring stuff. So yeah, speak to Sonia or to whoever, and if you want to help in aggregating what you already have internationally or in Nigeria, then we'll be glad to help.
Sonia?
Fantastic. Osohan, I must thank you very much for the high-level discussion we had today. I think everybody enjoyed it. I think it was conversational and to the point, and we had some really, really good questions. Thank you very much to those that sent them in. My closing statement is, if you want to enter the United States, contact us. We are in the top 1%. We are one of the best. I would love to say we are the best, but there are other good regional centers, so it wouldn't be fair for me to say that. But yes, I think the closing statement I have for everyone is, you're not left in the dark. We handhold you every step of the way. Your immigration attorney as well is very interactive with you. You're walked through the whole process. And most importantly, you are then prepared for your consular interview. So once you get your temporary green card and you're allowed to enter the United States, you want to know what you've got to actually say to the consulate. So we know what kind of questions to anticipate. The big thing is the United States wants to know whether your intent is actually to, become part of the US economy. I think that's one of the big questions. But we prepare you thoroughly. We are there for you, and we walk through the process and step by step. And we've got many investors that are happy. We've got some testimonials on YouTube as well. And yes, very proud to be part of the team of First Pathway Partners. I must thank the executive team, for allowing me the position as a director of First Pathway Partners. Osohan, Harold, thank you very much.
And I want to thank everyone who's tuned in. Engineer Noah has signed out, but very grateful to him for taking time out of his very busy schedule in Liberia to join us and continue to encourage the young and talented ones. Gerald, Sonia, I'm always so glad to be friends with you guys. And let me take a cue from what Sonia have said. You bring so much light to those very crevices that people dread. And you make what hitherto were very difficult things look very simple and achievable. Just behind the scene, thank you so much. You always do wonderful things and make these things easy. So for everyone, thank you. Gerald and Sonia are highly recommended by us, and please feel free to get in touch with them directly. And if you need any recommendations, we'll be glad to do that. Thank you so much and have a good evening. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Have a good evening. Bye, everyone.
Bye.